Good morning, students, educators, and parents who are joining us today. UTLA family, it has been a summer like no other. After a whirlwind of a school year, I hope you're finally able to take a breath, find moments of rest and relaxation. Here in this house, Giovanni is playing Fortnite, but the mom in me has him reading, bike riding, doing IXL, Amplify, and extra math. Today, we'll be talking about the safe reopening of schools, understanding we may not get back physically. I will give you an update on the state budget, bargaining process, and our policy on divesting in school police to invest in our students. It is my first official day as president, as the first woman of color to lead UTLA in our 50-year history. I started this morning with a moment of gratitude, reflection, and remembrance. I lift up my father, Cecil, my mentor, Duffy, and my family and friends. This work is in my DNA. I am a child of the city, a graduate of LAUSD schools, a mother to an LAUSD student, a 26-year educator, and a true believer in social justice unionism and the power of educators to fight and drive for racial and social justice. I have worked along many of you for years as a chapter chair, then West Area chair, and officer, for obviously in our virtual spaces for now, and in person once we're on the other side of this pandemic. A bargaining timeline is as follows. Early July, we're going to develop proposals based on the 15,000 plus member surveys. July and August, bargaining with LAUSD, and there will be regular updates on progress. Educators, students, and families are yearning for normalcy when the school year begins. We want to be back in our classrooms because we know remote learning or crisis learning cannot replace learning and support in schools. But schools must reopen in a way that ensures that the benefits outweigh the risk, especially for our most vulnerable students and school communities. The spike in infections and hospitalizations we're seeing right now gives us pause and worry. There is still so much uncertainty. Any reopening plan that ignores the advice of scientists and public health experts will backfire and potentially cost lives. A lot of really critical work will be concentrated in the next few weeks as we bargain around what our working conditions will be like come August. But right now, we are developing our proposals informed by the 15,000 plus surveys our members filled out, giving us a window onto our most serious concerns. 15,000 surveys is a huge number of responses, and it's great. So many of you engaged in this survey. We are also launching a parent survey this week. This is going to be a busy summer for all of us. Our chapter leaders will be reviewing, will share with members and the community soon after. We are on a tight timeline. Our bargaining team will be working day and night in the summer just to get it right. After agreement is reached, we'll take it to our members for a vote, which will likely be in August. Our absolute priority is the safety of staff and students and the necessary conditions to protect everyone's health, like testing, contact protocols, physical distancing, and protections for high-risk staff and students. Our proposals will include what students need, from more nurses to increase and academic supports. Our students are 88% of color because Black and brown people are more likely to have essential jobs, insufficient health care, and crowded housing. These communities are suffering the disproportionate health and financial impacts of this pandemic. Our proposals will look at our community's needs to survive the crisis, such as income replacement, rent, and mortgage forgiveness. On Monday, Governor Newsom signed a budget that roughly keeps school spending at current levels. But we know that a status quo budget will not be enough to protective equipment cleaning alone will cost millions of dollars. The American Association of School Administrators estimates that the average school district will need to spend an additional $1.8 million to safely reopen school sites. Now, using figures from their analysis, LAUSD's total additional expenses to reopen could be nearly $250 million. It's clear that funding must be drastically improved if schools are to reopen safely and equitably. Crises can shift how we approach ambitious ideas, opening the door to transformational changes. This is our chance to fight for something bigger and bolder than just solving a crisis. We have to commit to taxing the wealthy. Have you ever heard of the phrase, same storm, different boats? We are not all experiencing the same pandemic. While millions of Americans face unemployment and financial devastation, the combined wealth of the 604 billionaires increased by $584 billion. Yeah, $584 billion. In November, voters will vote on Schools and Communities First measure, which will raise $12 billion a year for K through 12 schools and local communities by closing commercial tax loopholes. Homeowners are fully protected, but corporations and wealthy investors would start paying their fair share. We are continuing to work with our statewide coalition, the California Alliance for Community Schools, to fight for Schools and Communities First and other measures to get the funding we need. Last night, the LAUSD School Board voted 4-3 to defund school police by $25 million and to redirect those funds to counselors, social workers, and supports for Black students. This is a huge first step in the campaign for police-free schools and groundbreaking in terms of our movement for supporting Black lives in our schools. It was the power and passion in the streets across Los Angeles and the country uplifting the voices of Black students, educators, and families that made this happen. We can't let up. We must keep fighting. None of us knew 6 months ago that we would be in the middle of a global pandemic and an unprecedented social uprisings in support of Black Lives Matter. These are dark times, truly heart-wrenching. Personally, I don't know if I could watch the last breath taken away from another George Floyd, hear or read the last words of another Elijah McClain. But I find my way out of grief by thinking about our union and how collective power can be used to fight for racial and social justice. The movement is asking us to do more than just say Black Lives Matter. The movement is asking us to look at and dismantle institutions that uphold institution of police, especially in our schools, which are supposed to be locations of learning and care. Last week, the policy-making body of UTLA, our House of Representatives, overwhelmingly endorsed to call to shift funding from LA school police to student needs like counselors, psychologists, psychiatric social workers, and PSAs. The debate at the House was robust and respectful. It means that we can have difficult conversations and be thoughtful how we engage with each other. I'm proud of us as educators, understanding our unique role at this time. Questioning, reading, talking to folks so that we get it right for our babies next year. We cannot ignore the role systemic racism has played in our schools and communities, and it's going to take all of us to dismantle it. From policies to structures, programs, and our schools. I'm hopeful that we can do this work collectively and emerge being even more unified than we were before. We will be in regular communication with you over the summer. We encourage all UTLA chapters to continue having regular meetings with your colleagues to stay connected and informed. In August, for the first time, all members will have access to key elements of our leadership conference, including our panels on racial justice and school funding. We are living in intense times. There's no playbook for what lies ahead, but we're going to do this work purposefully, hopefully at times joyfully, putting our students in the center of everything we do. I am so proud of our union, and I'm excited to be in this struggle with you. And until next time, be safe, get some rest. We need you. We love you. Much love. Thank you so much.